Good morning, students. I'm Dr. Rashmi Bhatnagar from the Department of English, Government College, Pushkar. This is the second class of the BA second year. In yesterday's class, we have discussed about the literary ages prescribed in your syllabus, the pre-romantic age and the romantic age. If you remember, in yesterday's class, we have picked up the characteristics of the pre-romantic age and briefly touched upon the important poets of this age, that is James Thomson, William Collins and Thomas Gray. In the second class of today, we are going to talk at length about the romantic age. Now, but before we talk about romantic age and the characteristics of the romantic age, there are 2-3 points that we have to take into consideration. We have to know what is romantic revival, and we should also understand what does the word romantic connote. Now, when we talk of romantic revival, we should remember that it is more important than the development of naturalism, which was the general revolt which went on at the same time against the hard temper, the dry intellectuality, the hatred of the fantastic, the visionary and the mystical, which, as we have seen, were among the chief characteristics of the Augustan school. Augustan school, or we can say the poetry of Dryden and Pope. This revolt we call the Romantic movement. To find a definition of romantic, which shall be at once sufficiently broad and sufficiently exact, is extremely difficult. The word is so loosely employed even by critics that it is often taken to cover everything anti-Augustan, including naturalism. Now, this has to be taken into consideration that it is a mistake against which the student should be carefully on his guard, since naturalism, though contemporary with romanticism and like this a movement of reaction against Augustan ideals, was a reaction on entirely different lines. Perhaps the point already indicated would serve to show the origin, direction and fundamental meanings of this particular movement. So when we talked about the pre-romantic age, we also talked about the characteristics of the Augustan age or the age of Dryden and Pope. And when we talked about the shift that has taken place from one age to the another, we have discussed that Augustan age or the age of Dryden and Pope is basically an age which is characterized by town poetry. It is an age in which poems were written which catered to the mind rather than to the heart. So when we understand the romantic age, when we are trying to figure out what romantic age is and what are the characteristics, what do we understand by the word romantic? The word romantic, as it connotes, is the principle of spontaneity in literature, which implies the assertion of individuality against the conventions of the schools, the rejection of that critical code which had bound poetry down to the so-called rules of art, and the belief that poetic genius is really inspired and should be a law unto itself. Romanticism was thus a part of the general later 18th century movement for the emancipation of the individual, and that is why the great French writer Victor Hugo described it as liberalism in literature. It is also a particular mood and temper of which strong passion, sensibility, aspiration and melancholy are widely recognized component elements. It is this aspect of it which is specially brought about in Mr. Watson Dunton's definition of the romantic revival as the Renaissance of wonder and mystery. So we have two critics describing the word romantic in different terms. To Victor Hugo, it is the liberalism in literature, and to Dunton, it is a renaissance of wonder and mystery. A love of the wild, fantastic, abnormal and supernatural, and as a result of the combined influences of all these things, a fondness for a particular kind of subject matter which was quite a fresh kind in the middle of the 18th century and which gave free play to individual genius, stimulated the mood in question and appealed to the nearly awakened taste for the marvelous. Perhaps when we talk about these characteristics, we can take into consideration a few concrete examples which will help us to make these points clear. Thus, when we call the couplets of Keats' Endymion romantic because they are free, in the sense that they repudiate the formal canons of the Augustan form. We speak of the spirit of Gray's elegy as romantic melancholy, and of the fierce emotions of Byron's Eastern tales as romantic passion. We use the same epithet to describe the fantastic narrative of Scott's Lay of the Last Minstrel and the supernaturalism of Coleridge's Ancient Mariner. So now this is what we know about what is romantic revival and what is meant by the word romantic. Now, let us switch over to the characteristics of Romanticism in literature. We have 10 important characteristics and we would be discussing in detail each and every characteristic. Although literary Romanticism occurred from about 1790 through 1850, not all writers of this period worked in this style. There are certain characteristics that make a piece of literature part of the Romantic movement. You won't find every characteristic present in every piece of Romantic literature. However, you will usually find that writing from this period has several of the key characteristics. Basically, the lines imply that when we talk about the Romantic characteristics, these characteristics are the general characteristics of that particular age. And the poets who have written in this particular age, that is William Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats, Shelley, Byron, may imbibe or may have had one or two characteristics or maybe all the characteristics. So it is not compulsory, it is not mandatory that all the characteristics of Romantic age are present in all the works of all the poets who had written in that particular age. Now, the very first prominent characteristics of this age is the glorification of nature. Nature in all its unbound glory plays a huge role in Romantic literature. Nature, sometimes seen as the opposite of the rational, is a powerful symbol in work from this era. Romantic poets and writers give personal, deep descriptions of nature and its wild and powerful qualities. Natural elements also work as symbols for the unfettered emotions of the poet or the writer, as in the final stanza of To Autumn by John Keats. Keats was aware that he was dying of consumption throughout much of his short life and career, and his celebration of autumn symbolizes the beauty in the ephemeral. To quote few lines from the ode, "Where are the songs of spring? Aye, where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too." It is a very wonderful piece written by John Keats, a beautiful example of the picture of nature in all its form, in terms of music, in terms of imagery, in terms of smell, etc. The second characteristic that we take into consideration is the awareness and acceptance of emotions. A focus on emotion is a key characteristic of nearly all writings from the Romantic period. When you read work of this period, you will see feelings described in all forms, including romantic and filial love, fear, sorrow, loneliness, and more. The focus on emotion offered a counterpoint to the rational, and it also made Romantic poetry and prose extremely readable and relatable. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein offers a perfect example of this characteristic of Romanticism. Here, Frankenstein's monster shows great self-awareness of his feelings and offers a vivid emotional description full of anger and sadness. The next characteristic, celebration of artistic creativity and imagination. In contrast to the previous generation's focus on reason, writers of the Romantic movement explored the importance of imagination and the creative impulse. Romantic poets and prose writers celebrated the power of imagination and the creative process, as well as the artistic viewpoint. They believed that artists and writers looked at the world differently, and they celebrated this vision in their work. This can be clearly observed in the most famous work by William Wordsworth, The Prelude. He says, to quote, "Imagination, here the power so called through sad incompetence of human speech," unquote. Emphasis on aesthetic beauty is another characteristic of the Romantic age. Romantic literature also explores the theme of aesthetic beauty, not just of nature but of people as well. This was especially true with descriptions of female beauty. Writers praised women of the Romantic era for their natural loveliness rather than anything artificial or constrained. A classic example of this characteristic is George Gordon or Lord Byron's poem She Walks in Beauty. And to quote few lines from the text, "She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies." When we discuss the characters, we also talk about the themes of solitude and the focus on exotism and history. Writers of this Romantic era believed that creative inspiration came from solitary expansions and explorations. They celebrated the feeling of being alone, whether that meant loneliness or a much needed quiet space to think and create. You will see solitary themes in many literary works from this period, including in this excerpt from Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Frost at Midnight. Also, Romantic era literature often has a distinct focus on exotic locations and events or items from history. Poems and prose touch on antiques and the gifts of ancient cultures around the world and faraway locations, provide the setting for some literary works of this era. One great example is Shelley's poem Osmandus, where he talks about a king, and to quote a few lines from the text, I met a traveller from an antique land who said, two vast and trunkless legs of stone. This is a poem which is replete with exotic location, events and items from history, a perfect example of the characteristic of the Romantic age, that is focusing on exoticism and history. Spiritual and supernatural elements, the another characteristic of this age, and we can see that the writers of the Romantic era did not turn away from the darker side of emotion and the mysteries of the supernatural. They explored the contrast between life and death. Many pieces have Gothic motifs, and as Manor House in Disrepair, Dark and Stormy Nights, and more. Some of the supernatural elements serve as symbols for emotions of guilt, depression, and other darker feelings, as we can notice in The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. Vivid sensory descriptions and the use of personifications are another characteristics of this particular age. Nearly all Romantic era literature is full of vivid sensory descriptions. The poems and prose of this period include examples of similes and metaphors, as well as visual imagery and other sensory details. Poets and other writers went beyond simply telling about things and instead gave the information readers need to feel and taste and touch the objects and surroundings in Romantic era writing. Wordsworth uses vivid description, including similes and metaphors, in his famous poem, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. Romantic poets and prose writers also use personifications in their work. One can see examples of personifications of everything from birds and animals to natural events or aspects. These works even personify feelings like love or states like death. You can see romantic personification in the works of the famous naturalist and writer Karl Martius from his famous book Flora Bacillens. And the last characteristics that we take into consideration of the Romantic age is the focus on self and autobiography. Many works of Romantic era literature are deeply personal and they often explore the self of the writer. You will see autobiographical influences in poems and prose of the period. One characteristic of this movement was the importance placed on feelings and creativity, and the source of much of this emotional and artistic work was the background and real life surroundings of the writer. The self-focus preceded confessional poetry of the mid-90s, but you can see its profound influence on that movement. One key example of romantic autobiography is Jean-Jacques Rochou's Confessions. In his work, he endeavored to create an unvarnished look at his own upbringing and life. So students, in this class we have picked up and we have discussed what is romantic revival. We have understood what the term romantic means, and we have talked in length about the romantic characteristics of the age. In tomorrow's class, we will be picking up the poets of both the ages, that is the pre-romantic age and the romantic age, and we will take a look at their publications. We will talk about their works and the important characteristics. So this much so for the class today. Thank you, students.